Hello again, my name is Pauline Rohdich. I'm the founder of Just Pause. Here's my hashtag phone board that I know you're seeing back to front right now, but I encourage people to hit the pause button in their lives because I want people to know that they have choices in their lives. I want people to know that their happiness is their responsibility. I want people to know that their mind is very powerful. And I want people to know that their thoughts will either support them or be unsupportive in terms of living a very happy life. And I know you want to live a happy life. Today, I want to talk about your imagination. I want you to see your imagination like a superpower. Your imagination is one of your higher faculties. That simply means that this is the difference between, going around like a robot, thinking that life sucks or life is boring. I want you to know that life is magical. I want you to think about everything that you have around you. I want you to look around the room where you are right now. I'm picking up my iPhone. I'm speaking to you through my MacBook computer, laptop. All of these things that we have around us, lights, windows, the desk, they were all ideas in somebody's mind. You might know of Steve Jobs. He was the creator of the Apple products. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But when he used his imagination, the idea for these sleek devices came into his imagination, and then he went about creating them. At this early stage, I want you to know that it's absolutely vital that you make time to tap into your imagination. I know life is very busy for you. I also know that many of you prefer to be face down in Snapchat, TikTok, or perhaps online playing games like your PlayStations and your whatever other machines are out there. I forget some of them at this stage. I do have a 14-year-old son myself. He has a PlayStation. He likes TikTok. He talks on Snapchat or uses Snapchat from time to time. I've never used it myself personally, but the reason I'm mentioning them is because I'm sure your parents and those around you who take care of you are telling you nonstop, put the phone down. Put the phone down. Almost everybody on the planet has a phone at this stage, and we are very often addicted to our phones. Many adults are too. I work a lot on my phone because I'm always dealing with my own customers and clients through messages and emails. So I know as an adult and as a parent that I too have to curtail the usage of my devices, especially if I want to have quality time with the people in my life that I love and the people that I care about. Now, the problem with many of our devices and the time we're spending on them is that we've no time left to use our imagination. Do you know that it's really important to feel bored? Because what you might perceive to be bored. But what I mean by that is by allowing yourself some time without your devices, time without reading, time without looking at the television. You then allow yourself to go into almost like a daydream state. It is when your mind drifts into that state that ideas come to you. And the ideas come like they did to Steve Jobs and many of the other inventors of our time when they were in that state of being where they were not being distracted, where they weren't engaged in a conversation, where they weren't watching back-to-back Netflix, or where they weren't talking to their friends through PlayStation or such like. This is when the ideas for some of the most fantastic creations on the planet came to be, many of which I'm complaining about now somewhat because you know that if you're focused on them for too long, it's robbing you of the use of your imagination. So I want to remind you that you are capable of much more than you might think. But if you're not allowing yourself to have time away from your devices, you're not really allowing yourself to go into that dreamlike state and go into a possibility for your life. So the language of that is, what if? So if you start a sentence with, what if, or I wonder, the moment you start going into beginning a sentence with those two questions, I wonder what is possible for me, or what if I tried this, or what if I studied this, or what if I gave up that subject, or what if I spoke to my teacher about such and such, or my parent about such and such, or what if I tried this? I want to talk to you about a little story about a young 14-year-old boy back in Africa many years ago. Well, not that long ago, really, maybe 20 years ago, but he lived in a very poor village, and they had no electricity in his home, which is very typical of many families in Africa. They had no money, pretty much, and his future was mapped out. He had no schooling, or at least very little, and his life was fairly mapped out for him had he not gone into his imagination. But he would have ended up just, toiling a farm that was a very meager farm, no real prospect of a long life or education. But this young boy decided to go to the local library. And because of going to the local library, he discovered that he had a great interest in electronics, which of course he had never experienced before growing up in this village. And as a result of attending the library, he was reading, he was learning, he decided to create a windmill. Now, initially it was just a makeshift windmill, but eventually he created a proper windmill, and he enlisted the help of people who could help him to create this windmill. And that helped to bring electricity to the village. Well, eventually that boy went on to become quite famous in his own right, and he did a speech in public that caused many of the people that listened to him to invest in him to help him with his further education. So the point I'm making here is this young boy had no access to school on a regular basis, no electricity. He didn't know what a gadget was. He didn't know what PlayStation was. He didn't know what a phone was. He didn't know a lot of things, but he had the time and the space. And then it came into his awareness that there was such a thing as a library. He went to the library, and because of the library, he exposed himself to books. Because of the books that he chose to read, he realized he had an interest in electronics. And that is what he went on to pursue. He is possibly in his 30s now, from the story that I read about him. So the point I'm making is he allowed himself to dream. And then he went and explored how to do that. What stops a lot of people from having an idea and pursuing that idea is that we get caught up in figuring out how we're going to do it. And fear of not knowing stops a lot of people. Fear stops a lot of us because we're afraid that other people might criticize us for what we want to do, or maybe they might judge us for what we want to do. And I want you to know this, that many adults stop short of achieving a lot of things that they want to do because they're all caught up in, how am I going to do it? How am I going to get the money for that? How am I going to get the help to do that? I don't know everything I need to know. I'm telling you now, you don't need to know how. You just need to make a decision that you want to do something. This is the first step in living a successful life. You have to allow the idea to come to you through tapping into your imagination, and you need to make time for that. You need to be silent and still to allow these ideas to come. I'm not suggesting that you have to be sitting for hours. Moments, minutes, ideas will come to you. It doesn't mean half an hour or an hour or 3 hours. If you just put everything down, put your head back against the pillow or sit upright, close your eyes, and just allow the ideas to come to you. This is how Einstein worked, how the great inventors worked. Thomas Edison, who created the light bulb, all these great inventors, all the great successful people in business. It begins with an idea. But if you're so busy doing the things that I've already outlined, the PlayStation and the phone, etc., you're not going to hear or feel or have a sense of any idea that is coming to you. And I want you to know the idea is coming to you because these are the invisible forces. I'm not going to expand on that, but all these ideas are coming from this quantum field of possibilities. Now, some of you might be familiar with what I'm talking about. I'm not a physicist, I'm not a scientist, but I am aware from what I've learned that all these ideas are coming from the ether, from the space all around us. This is how everything happens. This is how every idea is born. So I want you to understand something. There's two ways you can go when you get an idea. You can either think you can do it, or you're going to think you can't do it. One, if you say I can, then what happens is you're telling your mind, I can do this. And when you believe that you can do this, what happens is people will come into your life, just like that boy in Africa. He wanted to know more. He went to the library. He picked up the book. People started to come to help him and to help him with his education, to help him realize his dream, to create a windmill, to bring electricity to his home and his village. He didn't know how when he started out on that journey, but because he made a decision with the attitude that I can do this, the people came, the solutions started to come, the money started to come. You don't have to worry about that. You just have to run with the idea. On the other hand, if you tell yourself you can't do something, then that is exactly what you will create, which is really sad, because that means that you're not going to do the thing that you might want to do, because you have told yourself, I can't do this. You just turn that around and tell yourself, I can do it. I absolutely can do this. I don't know how, but I can do it, and I want to do this, and the people that I need to help me are going to come. And you see, if you can, you're going to be speaking in that way, people will start to help you. You have to believe in the idea. Don't let anybody steal your dreams. This is an idea that has come to you. Just like the light bulb came to Thomas Edison. Do you know that Thomas Edison had 10,000 fails at creating the light bulb before, bingo, we have a light bulb like we know it? He never saw it as a failure. You don't fail unless you quit. So he never saw it as a failure, those 10,000 attempts at bringing the light bulb into our world. He saw it as 10,000 ways it didn't work, but he never gave up. So I want you to know that unless you quit, you haven't failed. Failure is information teaching us how not to do something again. It's knowledge. And when we have that knowledge, we're not going to do that again. So if you have something in your life that is not working out for you, learn as best you can what's going on within that, and don't repeat it. Change it around and begin by telling yourself that you can. I want you to know there are many gifts and talents that you've been born with. Some maybe you don't know yet. I'm nearly 56 years of age, and I have changed my jobs many times because as I gained more awareness of my own skills and abilities, it caused me to change careers. So I want to tell you, I started out when I left school. Within a year or so, I'd gone to live in France because I love the language of French, and I went over there to learn it better. And I came home and I started as a Garda in Dublin. And that's a police force, and I did that for 8 years. And then I realized actually I had other skills, and it just continued and continued. And I tried different jobs, and I had different businesses. And then I went into working as a therapist and a yoga teacher and meditation teacher. And from that, I learned, oh my God, I'd like to do this. So the ideas were coming, and I was saying, okay, I can do this. And that meant at times I had to retrain. And that meant that I had to study a little bit more. But now I am doing many, many things using all of my experience of life with many gifts and talents. So really what I'm saying to you is this. You may feel at this time in your life that you have to pursue a particular path. You know, I grew up in a family where they were police and teachers and nurses. And that's what many of the children of the teachers, the nurses and the doctors and the police followed. But you don't have to necessarily do that. And you don't have to do it for 30 years. You know, life is for living, and you have amazing gifts and talents, and your imagination is your superpower. You just have to go into the space of, I wonder if I did this, what would happen? Or what if I pursued this, what would happen? And just be open to what can come your way. You don't need to know the how part. Allow yourself to dream. It's so important that you dream and ask yourself, what do I really, really, really want? You know, what do I really want to create in my life? What kind of work do I want to do? And really, it's important that you love what you do, because when you love what you do in terms of work, it's not work. It's almost like a hobby. I'm at a stage in my life where what I do, I love it so much, it's not work. I get up every day and I love what I do because I have aligned, it's a word where, you know, I've aligned what I love with my gifts and talents. And so I'm showing up in the world using my gifts and talents. I am sure I've plenty more to learn, but I don't need to know that right now. You just stay as much as you possibly can, living in the present moment, in the here and now. Every decision that you make is made in the present moment. And, you know, if you can be really alert to what you're thinking right now in this moment, just understand that that will influence your future. So when you make really good choices now, such as choosing to support yourself by speaking gently and compassionately to yourself, by thinking positively, by having an I can attitude rather than an I can't attitude. I know you're familiar with IQ. The IQ determines, you know, people can do a test to discover their level of intelligence based on results that they're going to get from passing an exam. And while academic intelligence is very important, it's not everything. Having an I can attitude to life is often far superior to our IQ levels, because people with very little education in this world have gone on to live and do amazing things because they had the attitude of, I can do this, I will find a way to do this, I'll meet the right people in my life that will support this idea and this vision. So I want you to think about what is possible for you. I want you to dream and give yourself time to tap into your imagination, and just know that every idea, everything that we hold in our hands, I should say, began as an idea in somebody's mind. And now we're holding iPhones, PlayStations, remote controllers. All the phenomenal inventions began with an idea. I want you to consider, what idea do you have that could be the next great invention? And I want you to know that your imagination is your superpower. Make time every single day to daydream. And I wish you well in your life. I wish you great success and joy and peace and harmony. And I want you to know that it all begins in your mind with your thinking. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Very powerful. You need to understand this, internalize this, and know that this is a truth and something that many adults don't know or learn much later in their lives, after years and years and years of not doing the things that they really love to do. You have an opportunity to do what you love. Don't worry about the how. That will unfold for you. Thank you for your time. I wish you great success in life. Lots of peace, lots of love. Thank you.